Hello everyone, I'm Homna and I am here to bring you another download transmission on the false light new age movement. And this video specifically, we're going to be diving into the Lion's Gate, as the Lion's Gate is apparently coming up on August 8th, which we are going to disseminate today on this video and actually learn when the Lion's Gate actually happens, where it came from. I'm going to show you images and allow you to see this and not just have this be you listening to me talking to you. So my aim is to help you understand the way that the false light new age movement shows up, and at various times throughout the year, making these videos to just bring through an alternative perspective. And if the last one that I made taught me anything, with the thousands of very unpleasant comments, is that this is a very triggering topic, and that's okay, because we are evolving and this information is important now. So I want to just begin with an awareness of, without going too much in depth into the false light new age movement, what that energy is and how it works through the field. So I talked about in the last video how the false light new age movement is a program in the mental plane, in the mental matrix, and that program essentially keeps light workers, star seeds, beings on their journey of awakening from going in depth to the real mechanics, to the real root, and it keeps them slightly out of alignment with the true nature of our reality. So one of the things imagine it acting like an overlay, right? It's like a filter, and that filter is, one of the prime functions of it is to just get us to automatically believe in what we're told without doing due diligence and deeper research and looking into things in depth. So that's one of the biggest ways that the false light new age filter kind of shields people from actualizing and going even deeper. And I talked about in the last video how the false light new age movement was developed during the fall of Atlantis to be utilized during this time on the planet in order to trap the quantum of light workers that are here from aligning and clearing their DNA and bringing themselves back online with their Krishna code and activating the templates and evolving the species forward. Right? So it's acting as a filter that stops us from doing that work. Right? So one of the things that is the biggest aha of the false light new age movement is recognizing where there is not depth, where there is just an automatic taking in of information and then, oh, this is truth. Taking in information and, oh, then this is truth. And I'm going to show you some different websites on the internet today that are going to be talking about the Lion's Gate and talking from a very false light new age lens. And do these people know I'm talking from the false light? No, right? No, these are beautiful people with an open intention to help and assist the evolution of consciousness. However, because the false light new age movement masks and filters, it makes it so that we think we are doing what is right, yet we are actually feeding into this pattern of spiraling backwards by giving half-truths and misalignments. And I was caught up in it myself and freed myself from that by going deeper. And that's really what this video is going to highlight, is how do we start to recognize these things, specifically focusing with the Lion's Gate, because that energy is upon us. And I also want to be sure that you don't miss the real Lion's Gate activation, because it's a very, very significant time on the planet. That does not happen on the 8th of August, as you might be hearing and reading that it is happening. So we're going to dive into that. And I just wanted to give this little preface about this filter, this lens of the false light, and how it keeps us from going deeper to unravel the half-truths. So I'm going to share my screen here, and just for a moment, we're going to look at some of these articles on the internet. If you go in and type in, basically I just went and typed in, what is the Lionsgate portal? And I pulled up a few different sites that I want to start to highlight these aspects of half-truths and a lack of depth that really comes through. And before we actually go into that, the other thing that we're going to touch base on that can be at times quite triggering for people is this awareness around the false light New Age movements, hooks into Western tropical astrology, and how that system is actually a part of the false light New Age movement, as it keeps people currently 24 degrees out of alignment with what's actually happening in the planetary system. And that's very important for us to understand before I start to show you some of these websites, because basically, if you've watched any of my power divinations and things of that, I really talk a lot about the distortion of the tropical Western astrology, which is, 90% of what you're seeing when you're looking at your horoscope or you're watching astrologers is the tropical astrology. And that tropical astrology, just in a few sentences here, is based on the Gregorian calendar and based on the seasons. And it was developed after sidereal. Sidereal astrology was developed first, and then tropical astrology came in. And tropical astrology actually gave us the characteristics of the zodiac, of the archetypes. So it's what gave us like, oh, okay, Leos are royal and heart open and lion energy and a little fiery and charismatic. It gave us those personality traits, those definitions around what these zodiac, what these archetypes represented, which is a big reason why, as we move further out of alignment to the tropical system, tropical astrologers still want to cling so dearly to tropical astrology, because they feel that if they shift, if they let go of tropical astrology, that they're going to lose touch with what the zodiac energy means and what it represents. And I have a few different things that I like to say about that, because I teach this in the destiny mapping training, really understanding these two different dynamics of sidereal and tropical astrology. That being said, for our video today, it's important to understand that when you are looking up into the night sky, you are looking up into the sidereal, the absolute placement of where the sun, where the moons, where Jupiter, Mars, all the planets are, all the constellations are in relationship to the Earth. So sidereal astrology is using astronomical placements, right? And because we have progressions, because we have retrogrades, because we have the Earth's axis tilting, where tropical astrology began in the time of Babylon, in alignment with the vernal equinox being at the start of Aries, has shifted every 72 years 1 degree away. Because the Earth's tilting, because we have all of these, we're not a stationary planet, right? We're not just here, solid, unmoving. We as the Earth are moving, we're sentient, we're expanding, we're changing, we're shifting, we're evolving. Yet tropical astrology is a very stagnant, unmoving, unchanging system. And that's not real. That's not what actually happens. So where we're at today in 2020 has brought us 24 degrees out of alignment in the tropical Western astrology system to where the planets actually are. So right here, right now, today, August 5th, when I'm recording this video, the sun has not yet moved into Leo. The sun, if you took out your phone and you took out, your Stargazer app, whatever that is, and you pointed it up to the sun today, it would show you not Leo. It would show you the sun is still in Cancer. right? So that's where the sidereal comes in. It's absolute precision. And the way that I think that this really lands for us, because right now there's an agenda in the tropical astrology community to really hold on to, it's okay if it's off. It's okay if it's off, right? It's just 24 degrees. This is based on the calendar. This is what's accurate. But when we go ahead 2,000 years into the future from today, so go forward to 4020, we would see the tropical chart being now 48 degrees off. So 48 degrees off is almost 2 whole signs off. There'll be no way of justifying saying, hey, yeah, your sun is in Leo, when actually the sun was in Gemini when you were born. There's going to be no way of justifying that, right? So right now the 24 degrees is like, oh yeah, we can justify this. But as we'll evolve, tropical astrology will be no more, right? So it is a dying system because it is an unchanging system, and we will move back fully into resonance at a global whole with the sidereal, with absolute precision and alignment with the celestial beings in the solar system, as well as on the earth, us, you and me. So when we look at these sites, we're going to see everything being around the sun being in Leo on the 8th of August. And I'll show you the charts here in a moment, and you'll see that that's not actually the case. Then you're going to find websites that start to go into these divine beings that are channeling in messages. And I am of the resonance that there are very few channels on this earth right now that are pure channels, and you have to have a very strong level of discernment in order to really know if that is a pure channel, because of the voice of God technologies, because of these technologies that are also imprinted into the mental plane, like the false light new age movement, which is actually a program. Then we have the voice of God, which is a technology that actually people think they're speaking to these divine angelic beings when they're actually speaking to the program of the false light new age movement, speaking through this voice of God technology. And a lot of channels then are bringing through the messages that the false light new age movement want you to hear. And one way of recognizing that is when you see these celestial divine beings or extraterrestrial beings from the Pleiades or wherever that are speaking from the tropical astrological placement. Because a true being living in the Pleiades or on Sirius or an angel, whatever it's coming through, you're going to see one today that's coming in from Archangel Michael. These beings, they wouldn't say the tropical astrological placement because that's not accurate. That's not actually where the planets are in relationship to the earth, where the zodiac is in relationship to the earth. And they're out in the system, right? They're out in the universe. They're out in the galaxy, the Milky Way and beyond, and Andromeda. So they're not having that distorted view of the tropical system. So they know exactly where these planets are and where the zodiac actually is. So why would those beings give us the wrong information? It's because we're not actually connecting to those beings. So I'm going to start sharing here and just show you some of these articles. When you search in what is the Lion's Gate, so you start to hear that every year on the 8th day of the 8th month of the year is the cosmic alignment of the Lion's Gate, which increases as cosmic energy. Then we start to see, okay, well, what is that? And it goes to a time in ancient Egypt for thousands of years, and it's marked by the star Sirius rising in the sky over Orion's belt, directly aligning with the pyramids of Giza. From our perspective on Earth, it appears that Sirius comes closer to the Earth. So We also see again the next thing, the alignment is called the Lion's Gate because it occurs when the sun is in the astrological sign of Leo. As you'll see in a moment, the sun is not in Leo on the 8th of August. Let's look at another site here. This one comes in from this Archangel Michael, beloved ones, again, going through the Leo gateway. It won't let me highlight on this one. On the 8-8 Royal Lion Guardians, we come in, and it begins on the 25th with this day out of time, which is when the sun moves into Leo, which it doesn't move into Leo until August. We start to see here, when you look at the sign, the one thing that I wanted to point out to you from this channeler is that this is the very important key, whereas it's towards the bottom. So we're connecting into these time crystals and the Lion's Gate and higher frequency of consciousness, which we'll talk about what you access. You can only achieve connecting to this higher frequency of consciousness by meditative focus on the Lion's Gate transit. And not being distracted into lower frequencies is crucial at this time. So basically what this channel is saying is that you can only achieve this connection through focusing on the Lion's Gate transit. Now, if you can only achieve this through this focus, wouldn't it be incredibly important to actually know when the Lion's Gate portal is opening? Because it is not during these dates that this channel, the 8-8, it doesn't happen then. And I'm going to show you the images of all of this in a moment. So just prepare, allow yourself to just stay with me. We're going to get there. We first have to just start to see these aspects, right? So the false light new age movement gets you focusing on something that is real. The Lion's Gate is a real transdimensional gateway that opens up connection to the Leonine, and we'll talk about that in a moment. That being said, what the false light new age movement does is it keeps us just slightly out of alignment, right? So it has you thinking you're connecting to this energy on 8-8, and from the end of July through, I believe in one of these, it gives us dates here. Yeah, so July 26th through August 12th. So this is the time that you're in this portal, and this is the time that you can only, right, connect to this frequency. So it has you focusing on something that is real and true, and that does happen, yet it has you focusing on it out of alignment to when it's actually happening. And what then does happen is the streaming of energy that comes through during this gateway is oftentimes in alignment with the false light agendas. So it ends up streaming in a consciousness that you might feel as a divine consciousness because it's false light. It feels like light, yet it's not actually light. This is why this is all so important to really understand. So here we see the Lion's Gate portal opens July 26th through the 12th, sending high vibrational energies that peak on August 8th. They go into the numerology of the 8-8, which actually the 8 is the infinite soul, but the 8 also is a representation of the golden handcuffs that lock us into reincarnation cycles. So while it is at one level this infinite loop, and people identify with this infinity loop, but this infinity loop is a representation of the false light, because it keeps us cycling back into the same reality when our true cosmic nature is actually rising up, going in and out through the Catharic grid back to source. So this keeps us looping back in the same reality, continuing to reincarnate, dealing with all of this karmic ish that is not actually of a Christic nature, So just be really mindful at how you originally look at things, because it can look, that's what the false light does. It shows us one lens and we automatically say, oh yeah, that's light for sure, without really looking deeper at the mechanics of the distortions that have been happening for millions and millions of years. Okay. So it's not just numerology, but it's also astrology, and involves the movement on the sun into the ruling sign of Leo and the rising star of Sirius. So let's see, one last thing before we go into looking at the charts. Third eyes, and this is from 2018. You'll see the reason I wanted to have multiple years of articles is because you'll see that the same message is being shared every single year on the same time, yet none of them have actually gone and looked into what is the Lion's Gate, and we're going to get into that in a moment. So third eyes everywhere will open on August 8th as the sun in Leo syncs up with the star Sirius and generates a high frequency that activates the Lion Gate portal. That is another key thing that people say around the Sirius Sun alignment, that this is the Lion's Gate. When we go down here, you're going to see again another key thing. On August 8th, the Lion's Gate is opened as an alignment between the Sirius, Orion's belt, planet Earth, and the Great Pyramids of Giza. Create an enlightened perspective, and again, the Sirius, Orion's belt, Great Periods of Giza energy is brought in again. There is a reason for all of this. So we have to go back to history here for a moment, to give you some history here for a moment. Where did the Lion's Gate actually originate from before we look at this, the zodiac wheels, right? So if we looked at Giza on the 8th of August today, you would not actually see it aligned with the Orion's belt. In 10,450 BC, so before Christ, 10,450 BC, right? So that's 12,470 years ago. Orion's belt on that day, on that year, aligned with the Sphinx and the 3 pyramids of Giza on the vernal equinox, right? So that's the spring equinox, which is not August 8th, right? Where the lion comes in from is because in 10,450 BC, we were in the age of Leo. So everyone talks about us being and moving into the age of Aquarius, right? And these are astrological ages. Well, in 10,450 BC, when the Orion's belt actually aligned with the Sphinx and the 3 pyramids of Giza on the vernal equinox, we were in the age of Leo. The age of Leo was from 11,000 to 8,000 BC. Why this was so significant is because this is seen as the end of the Ice Age and the start of the next golden age in Egypt. So this 10,450 BC was seen as the beginning of the golden age in Egypt. Now, golden ages, as we start to look at root races, and I filmed a video on this before that I'll leave a link to here so you can go and watch that if you'd like, talking about the root races and then the 7 epochs within those root races, the first being the golden age, and then you can also know these as the yugas, and we're in the Kali Yuga now, which is the end of that race, right? So this 10,450 BC, this age of Leo, this was the golden age of Egypt. And in the golden age of Egypt, many of the, and most of really, the Egyptian deities are associated with Leonine beings, the lion people. So the Leonine beings are from another timeline. They're from what we would consider a future probability, only it's not future linearly. It's really just a higher vibrational frequency, so it appears to be ahead of us, right? So the Leonine people were these, they were streaming through to the conscious people, to the beings during the golden age of Egypt. They were in direct communion with these Leonine beings, which is why many of the deities of Egypt looked like lion or feline beings. And at this time, during the age of Leo, when all of these alignments were happening, the Leonine beings were able to stream their consciousness and sacred knowledge through to the Egyptians, right? So what we see now in the Lion's Gate is we start to see how we actually now, currently today in 2020, can connect with these Leonine beings. And if you want to learn more about the Leonine beings, I'd recommend the book. It's called The Lion People by Murry, M-U-R-R-Y, Hope. So go check out that book if you want to learn more about the lion people of the Leonine beings. So when we start to now, so we talked about now, okay, why is the pyramids in Giza associated with the Lion's Gate? Because we have to go all the way back to 10,450 BC when actually Orion aligned with the Sphinx and the pyramids of Giza. This is not happening today on August 8th. And it was happening in the age of Leo, right? So here we have the Lion's Gate, the inception of the Lion's Gate. Now, as we have evolved, as we have moved forward in time, we have to start to look at now, how do we connect with these Leonine beings, right? There is a book called The Mystery of the White Lions by Linda Tucker. And this book documents the return of the white lions in the Timbuktu region in South Africa around 400 years ago. When these white lions came back to the earth, they came to the earth to activate dormant DNA strands that these lions were containing for humanity, right? So in this book, there is a person called Credo Mutwa, and this was a high Sunasi and keeper of the sacred African traditional knowledge. And Credo shares about all life forms on Earth originating from the stars, right? So all of the animals, all of the people, all of the plants here on Earth originate from the stars. And therefore, the star and animal counterparts are directly connected. So Leo, the constellation, is directly connected to the lions. Taurus, the bull constellation, is directly connected to the bulls, right? So we have those connections, right? So the Leo constellation, the energy that represents, is also being held by these white lions and by the lions of the earth. So the Leo constellation is this energy that is the star elder lion energy. It's the visionary leader. It's the courageous, strong heart. It's the creativity, the love, right? All these things that you've come to learn about the Leo constellation and the energy that these lions are holding for us on the planet, right? So during the actual Lion's Gate, not August 8th, the divine Leonine frequency. So the Leonines then are, we'll call it the higher self of the white lions, of the lions on the earth, right? And of the versions of ourselves that were Leonine beings that walked the earth during the time of Egypt, during the golden age of Egypt around 10,000 BC, okay? Hope that this is tracking. So now on the planet, there is a moment in time where the Lion's Gate opens to the divine Leonine frequency being amplified, and a stargate that opens up, which allows for the transmission of this very high consciousness that is the Leonine beings to be transmitted into the earth. According to Credo and the great African traditions, there are three main stars through which the lion frequency enters the earth, so through which activate the lion's gate. Sirius, which you saw on all of those articles, right? This awareness that Sirius is involved, which is thought as the eye of the sky lion. The middle star in Orion's belt, Alaniam, however you want to pronounce it, which is the lion of the dark, or the soul of the star lion. And then Regulus, and Regulus is a star that is actually in Leo. Sirius and Orion are in Cancer. So Regulus is the heart star of Leo. So the lion's gate is then when the sun, our sun, aligns with Regulus, when they are at the same degree in relationship to the earth, in the sign of Leo, because that's where Regulus is, it's in the sign of Leo, that creates a trine to the east with Sirius and Orion. And through this alignment, a stargate opens, a portal opens to connect with the consciousness of the Leonine beings. It is seen as, because the Leonine beings were directly communicating to us through the last golden age, these beings hold the codes. They're the timekeepers of the codes for how we progress into the next golden age. And they hold the codes for DNA activations through the white lions being activated on the earth during this period of time, right? So it is seen as this time that, yes, weaves us into new timelines, weaves us into new probabilities, and is ushering us into the next golden age through an activation of our DNA. Now, there's a whole nother video that wants to come through around all of the false light new age teachings around DNA activation and like how to activate, like pull through, and where you can find real DNA activation, which does not happen through anyone outside of yourself. That being said, I won't go into that on this video here. There has been a request for me to do a series on various different false light new age movement principles, and that is something that I am leaning into, and we'll see how that wants to come through. That being said, now that we have this understanding of what's actually happening, astrologically speaking, to open this stargate, let's look at the charts. So we're going to look at the charts, and in the charts, you're going to look for these key things. When does the sun align with Regulus? Creating that trine with the Sirius and Orion. And we're also going to look at, because a lot of the things you'll see on the internet says that the lion's gate is when Sirius aligns with our sun. So we're also going to look to see when that happens in the zodiac. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here with you one more time. Here we go. So this is the tropical astrological chart on August 8th. So 8th of August 2020. You'll see tropical is not going to have anything here. You're just going to see the signs. So on this day, it appears that the sun is in Leo. However, we know that this is 24 degrees out of alignment. So when we go to the Sirius, or excuse me, to the sidereal chart, which is going to be here, August 8th, 2020, sidereal chart has the S here. You're going to see that the sun is not quite in Leo yet. It's at 21 degrees of Cancer on the 8th of August. So that is where the sun is. Currently, it's still in Cancer, and on the 8th of August, which is going to be this Saturday in the Western Hemisphere, and it's going to be here at 21 degrees of Cancer. Now, let's go back to ask the question, because we see Sirius over here in Gemini is not in alignment with the sun. So now we can immediately wipe off the table all of the sites on the internet that say the Lionsgate portal is when the sun is in alignment with Sirius, because we go to July. So we have to go back, and you're only going to look at these through sidereal now, because now that you know the tropical is off, out of alignment, the planets aren't actually in those places, then let's just look at the truth together, right? Let's look at where the planets actually are in relationship to the Earth and to the zodiac. So here we go back, you'll see July 6th of 2020. Sirius, let's see, we can zoom this in a little bit for us here. Down in the sign of Gemini, the sun and Sirius, you'll see they're both at 19 degrees. So July 6th, 2020 is when Sirius and the sun came into alignment through the sign of Gemini. And that happens around that time every year, which is a very significant time where you can directly communicate to the consciousness that is Sirius, and Sirius is the, we'll call it higher self of our sun. So Sirius, we could imagine it as the future version of our sun, right? Really, it's just the higher vibrational frequency to our sun. So Sirius has very significant codes for everyone on Earth that we can directly communicate to through Gemini, Sun, Sirius in the beginning of July. Not the Lionsgate though. So let me zoom this back out. And we're gonna go into now looking at, gotta share a different screen with you so that we can now look at where the actual Lionsgate is. Go back to the web here, and we'll see. Now, if we know that the Lionsgate happens when the sun comes into alignment with Regulus in the sign of Leo, then August 23rd, 2020 is when the full activation of the Lionsgate is. So this is the day, August 23rd, 2020. You'll see here the sun at 5 degrees of Leo, Regulus at 5 degrees of Leo. So they are in alignment now with the Earth at 5 degrees of Leo. Then you're going to notice this, see this black dotted line, creating this alignment to Sirius at 19 degrees of Gemini. We then see Orion. So we have two different stars from Orion. We have the ALNI, so that's going to be that Ali Nam Lam, however you want to pronounce it, and Rigel. So Rigel is the brightest star in Orion. It's at the top of Orion, and then we have the middle star. We'll just call it Ali for now in Orion, that are back here in Taurus currently at this time. So when we start to now look, and there's a lot of lines because we had to draw aspects to everything in this chart in order to get all the lines that we want to see to start to see this dynamic that happens. So to the east, okay, so the ascendant, just so you're aware, because this is opposite to how you would draw it on a piece of paper, the east is the ascendant, right? So the sun rises in the east and it sets in the west, the descendant. So this is the east. So this way, towards the ascendant is the east. So remember the credo and the wisdom of the ancients that speak to Regulus and the sun aligning with a trine created between Sirius and Orion to the east. then we have to start drawing some lines here, right? So we go over to Sirius, we see that connection. Then we go up to Orion's belt, and it's a little tricky at times because there's a lot of lines. That being said, we follow up from Rigel all the way up to Jupiter. And from Jupiter, we follow those lines down to Regulus. We also go up to Pluto, and we follow those lines from Pluto down, right? So we have two different dynamics happening with Pluto and Jupiter being the head, the important dynamics of what we're interfacing with during this particular Lionsgate, right? This is the consistent. This is what changes, right? So this year, the Lionsgate, we're looking at both Jupiter and Pluto in Sagittarius. So one thing that's going to be happening throughout the month of August is going to be a massive, massive disclosure of truth. And we're at the end of Sagittarius now, right? We're in those last, well, with Pluto, with Jupiter, we're almost there to those last 5 degrees of Sagittarius, where it's just like, hey, we have to just get the truth out there now. It doesn't matter how it comes out. But that Jupiter energy is expanding this truth. It's like, hey, the truth has to be revealed now. And this truth is coming in through the 9th house. So there's going to be an even greater expansion of our global systems that are being revealed through this truth that helps us to unify. And then we have this Pluto energy that's like deep, deep, primordial, generational transformation. So the truth through Sagittarius, the 9th house, it's being revealed, is being revealed to bring us through this powerful transformation. Okay? That change that's going to change the collective, change the whole. We are heading into, yes, 2020 has been an incredibly challenging year. It is going to get a little rocky come end of August, September, October, November, December, really through January. Things are going to seem pretty unstable because so much has to come to the surface in a very short period of time. Through this gateway on August 23rd, this is a day to really be in your silent devotion. Now, one thing that I want to share is because the thing that I teach in the Destiny Mapping Facilitator training, and to all of our Destiny Mapping facilitators who we look at both the sidereal and the tropical astrology, human design, and Gene Keys charts, right? We're looking at all of it. We're really painting this picture of the misalignments that keep us tied into the matrix, that keep us tied into the false light New Age movement, and how we shift back into pure alignment with soul, with earth, with our celestial guardians, right? With the time cycle that we're on as well, right? One thing that I encourage you is, because it takes some time to unravel the delusions of the tropical astrological system and the identification with it that most people have, especially if your sun sign changes, then which becomes a little bit more tricky for people who have identified with this, created a very strong personality around being this sign that they're actually not. What this tells us is there's a lot of stagnancy in the false light New Age movement, right? So it wants to keep putting out the same information over and over and over again. It wants you to keep feeding into the same information, and it doesn't allow room for questioning or for change or for growth, right? The tropical system is one of those things that keeps us locked in this certain bandwidth, that certain wavelength that says the Gregorian calendar is the way. This is the time cycle that we're on, which is an artificial time schedule that was created by a king to tax the people, and excuse me, I think it was actually a pope to tax the people. Pope Gregory, or can someone look into it, right? That being said, when we really start to look at this, like what I recommend people do is to connect directly to Regulus, to connect directly to the sun on that day, to connect directly to Sirius, directly to the constellation of Leo, right? Connect directly to these beings, these sentient conscious beings that are in the format of stars and planets. Connect directly to them, as opposed to relying on this world to tell you how to connect to them, or to tell you what you're connecting to. Does that make sense? Like, remember that you are consciousness having an experience of consciousness, and that every consciousness you can tap into. So on the 23rd of August, sit out, lay under the sun. And as you're laying under the sun, directly beam your energy through the sun to Regulus, and then feel to the east Sirius, feel to the east Orion, right? Then feel Jupiter, feel Pluto to the north. Feel this triangulation that happens, and evoke and allow and connect and invite in the Leonine frequency. This higher consciousness that is carrying the codes of the golden age, and how to awaken that golden age in your being, in your body. Remembering the golden age of the body is really what this is about. It's about allowing the body to remember that it is not a 2-strand DNA vessel, that it is a 12-stranded DNA miracle. And it can activate these codes and bring them back online and connect back in to consciousness beyond just this material plane. So whatever you're experiencing upon listening to this video, whether it is incredibly triggered and it is that I'm a huge liar and that all the graphs and all the stuff that I showed you is I must have fabricated it, which is not possible, can't change the internet. I invite you to just step outside of your own beliefs and ask yourself, what if this is true? What does that mean for me? What does that mean for the earth? What does that mean for all sentient beings here? What does that mean for how I want to show up on the 8th? What does that mean for how I want to show up on the 23rd? Now, the last thing that I want to share here, and this is very important because I am a recovering false light, new age movement person, right? I'm recovering from the addiction to that story and recovering from the manipulation of that program. When we hear the new age assimilated to this false light, it automatically triggers this idea that everything in the new age, all new age teachers and everything is false light. And that's not what's being said here. Okay? What's being said here is that the New Age movement has been utilized as a vehicle for false light information to stream into the collective and lock and phase very advanced beings who have incarnated on the planet at this time to the fallen time cycles, so that they cannot achieve what they're here to do, which is move the time cycle forward, move into new timelines. And you can tell this by if people who are subscribing to the New Age are also deeply feeding the fallen timelines, right? So they are feeding the reality of separation and division, and arguing with people about to muzzle or to not muzzle, and I'm being intentional to not use certain language around that because it's being censored. You know what I'm talking about. Or to vote for this person or that person, or to worry about the injections and the chips and all these things and everything working against you and the deep state and the Illuminati, all these things, like feeding that timeline, that narrative, which is a very valid and real narrative on a certain timeline. The advanced beings that are here, though, are meant to be stabilizing and anchoring a new timeline where none of that is the reality anymore. So the false light moves through the New Age, which is the natural resonance of where light workers go when they start to wake up and remember, like, oh wow, I'm this amazing conscious sentient being, and I'm like totally eternal and immortal, and like I chose to be here and do all this amazing stuff and like have this experience of like the creatorship of the whole, and be on a planet during a massive evolutionary moment where we see a total timeline collapse and a brand new golden age emerge. Like, wow. And we immediately go into that New Age teaching because it's there. It's been like put on this little silver platform. And when you don't see the shift into the new timelines, see this continual feeding of these fallen timelines and staying stuck in that, it's because those teachings have been delivering a false light, keeping you slightly out of alignment, just slightly. It's like when you start looking, and I talked about this in the last video I filmed about this, is like when you start looking into some of these teachings and they're teaching the reversal of the Merkaba spin, and they're teaching in the Kabbalah, it's missing two of the points. Like there's so much distortion that's happening that once we see it, that distortion influences our template. It influences the alignments with the new timelines. Once we see it and we pull ourselves out of that, right? That, like, I'm a recovering false light New Age movement being that was out of alignment, yet thinking I was like in alignment, bringing through all this like really amazing stuff. Once we pull ourselves out of that and actually restore our alignments, then we can fully anchor into the new timelines and be an emissary for the stabilization of these new timelines for humanity to shift into them. Right? The false light New Age movement relies on those who are here to anchor the timelines to be distracted by the current timeline and focused on that current timeline and what they don't want to happen on that timeline, that they are not stabilizing the new timelines. So there's many ways that we can start to catch ourselves and to tap in with ourselves. And I encourage you to come in and join our Facebook group, Creator Consciousness. I'll drop the link below. It's a free group to come into, and it's for people who are really interested in like recovering from the delusions and like really getting the fundamental mechanics of our multidimensional expression. Because when we start to really see and understand the fundamental mechanics, which is why I show you images, which is why I'm showing you these things, so that you can see the geometry's off in the tropical system, right? Take out your Skyscanner app and hold it up to the sun today. Hold it up to the sun on Saturday the 8th. The sun is not in Leo, right? This is not the Lion's Gate, right? So these distortions at times will trigger us because we have to, like, I remember when I started to wake up to all of this, I sat down with the person who was assisting me at the time, and I said, like, everything I have been sharing and teaching and selling is now no longer valid. And that threatens then our survival and our security. And then that ego, the wounded, traumatized parts of ourselves that are in fear still, come online and stop us from embracing the change, because it's afraid that if we do that, we'll lose our livelihood, we'll lose our sense of self, we'll lose our identity, we'll lose all these things. And like, good riddance, because I'll speak from my own expression that, like, releasing that and actually stepping into what is real and true alignment has brought in more abundance, more opportunity, more connection than could have ever existed sharing something that was not absolute alignment with truth. So just know that whatever you're experiencing right now, listening to this, is totally perfect, whether it's resistance or trigger, or whether it's like, yes, this is it. I encourage you to just share this information, because what is available for us at the end of August, when the portal is actually open, when the stargate is actually open with the Leonine beings, like, this is a very important time, and more people need to know when this is actually happening so that they can actually get the true alignment codes, right? Because as that one article said, it spoke a moment of truth there to you. You can only access these time crystals, these activations, when you are focused on the Lionsgate portal, when it is open. What it doesn't tell you or explain to you is that the Lionsgate portal is just not actually open when they say it is, right? Because that's what the false light does. It does not go deep to question everything. It just takes, oh, I heard about the Lionsgate. Oh, this must be real. Oh, this other person's talking about, oh, okay, yeah, I'm just going to start now sharing this on social media because this is what everyone else is saying, without looking into it. Question everything. Okay, friends? Share this video if you have found this information important, so that more people can be connected on the 23rd of August, and we can stabilize these frequencies, we can activate the new timelines, we can do it all together. Beautiful human folks. I am Ahomna. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube page if you are not subscribed while you're here. Come on over and follow me on Facebook. It is so amazing to connect with you. I am doing a live play shop on the 30th of August called Unfuck Your Mind, that is going to really go into a lot of these mental programs that have created a lot of stress and pressure and anxiety and all the ish on the planet for all the light workers who are coming online and really wanting to shift out of those old timelines. So I really encourage you to check that out. The link is below. And if you have any questions, feel free to send me a message somewhere, somehow in the social media space, whether here on YouTube or over on Facebook. And I so look forward to connecting with you again for more information. That's all. Much love to you all. Hope that you enjoy this video. And again, I look forward to seeing you next time in virtual space time. Bye.